Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I'm producer Pat Ford here, filling in for David on this Christmas Eve. David is traveling right now. He's on vacation in Southern California, having a good time, and he is going to be back with us on Monday. You know, it's been a little while since we gave a COVID update on the show, and I thought that given the latest surge that we're seeing in infections, it would be good to provide you with one today. Obviously, much of this latest surge has to do with the Omicron variant, which we first heard about only a month ago, hard to believe. And since it came from South Africa, in such a short amount of time, it has been able to become the dominant strain here in the U.S., with an estimated 70 to 80% of current cases being attributed to the variant. Of course, the speculation when it comes to Omicron is that it's a lot more contagious, yes, but not nearly as severe. That less severe part, we're not totally sure about. We'll know for sure, hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so. I'm going to talk more about that later, but let's take a look at the case chart. Looking at the case chart, back in the spring of 2020, we had what looks like a tiny wave there, which is actually deceptive because it was hard to come by tests during that time. The numbers were probably a lot more crazy than the graph shows, but of course these are confirmed cases. We had this wave in the spring of 2020, and then we got a small wave in the summer of 2020, mainly because of places like Texas and Florida. There were places like New England at that time that were doing just fine, but there were other parts of the country not doing so well in the summer of 2020. Then by the winter of 2020 into 2021, we had this just out of control giant spike topping out at about 250,000 to 300,000 cases per day. But then as the weather warmed up, and more importantly, as people got vaccinated, because this is the time that vaccines became available, we went back to super low numbers, and many of us thought that in May, June, July of this year that this all could be over with soon. But then we got into the late summer. There was another wave then, which calmed down by October. And now, unfortunately, we're heading back up, seeing about 150,000-ish new cases a day. And the question is, how high are we going to go? Retiring NIH Director Francis Collins is predicting that things could get as bad here as 1 million new cases a day. 1 million. And that's just based on how contagious Omicron is. Now looking at the death numbers, we're seeing a slight uptick so far from the October valley, getting around 1,500 deaths a day. But as we know, deaths tend to lag cases by a few weeks. So are we not seeing a major surge yet in the death numbers because Omicron isn't nearly as deadly? Or is it because just not enough time has passed yet, and because people are getting infected with it now, we could possibly see the surge in deaths in the next couple of weeks? We just don't know yet. Another key point is that even if we do find Omicron to be less deadly than previous strains, that's not going to help us all that much if we're seeing 1 million cases a day. Like, even if the rate is somewhat low, if we're seeing that many cases, there's still going to be thousands and thousands of people who die from this every single day, and it could be just as bad overall as the big wave that we saw in the winter of last year. So that's one important thing to consider. Now, obviously, we know that vaccination is our best way to protect against infection, but especially against severe COVID and death. And that's why some cities are joining cities like New York and Los Angeles and now requiring proof of vaccination to do indoor activities. And also, because of Omicron, we're seeing some cancellations that we arguably haven't seen since the start of the pandemic. So let me run through you a list of cancellations that we've seen over the past week or so. And I'm sure that this list is going to be added to over the coming days. Broadway shows have now closed their doors through Christmas week. The ball drop in Times Square will go on, but it's going to be scaled back with masks required for those in attendance. The World Economic Forum, scheduled for Davos, Switzerland, has been postponed until the summer. I'm sure many other conferences will follow soon. Companies shutting their doors to non-essential workers include CNN, Apple, Google, Uber, Lyft, and Ford. Universities that shut down their campuses early for the remainder of the semester included Cornell, NYU, and Princeton. And then in terms of travel, Israel, France, and the Netherlands closed their borders to more countries and added more travel restrictions. When it comes to sports, the NFL decided to move some games around. The NBA decided to postpone a few of their games. And the NHL is maybe being the most strict. They decided to put a pause on games until after Christmas. And also, they've decided to pull out of the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China, because of the surge. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not these decisions make sense. I think the sentiment is, well, you'd rather be safe than sorry. Let's see if cases reach a peak anytime soon. And if they do, reach a peak. Let's see where that peak exactly is. But the numbers right now, they're just not going in the right direction. And what worries us, especially now, is that we're about to see families get together for Christmas. We're about to see friends get together for New Year's celebrations. And so there's definitely a whole lot of reasons to be cautious now about Omicron and COVID in general.